We are live. Hey, good day, folks. How y'all doing on this fabulous Friday? We looking at 9/9/22. Sooner or later, we're gonna be saying Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Kwanzaa. But even with that being said, welcome to another episode of Predator and the Prey podcast with me, your host, the Predator, the Beast,
Finally,
and the lovely Dr.
finally, taking
Lisa.
ownership.
Dr. Lisa, you know what I'm saying? The Prey, the Beauty.
Hey, everyone. How is everything going? You're right. Can you believe it? We're already moving into the fall. I cannot believe it. Like the summer went by, life goes by really quickly, right? Like we're already in like very difficult times again where, we're approaching the holidays, right? And usually during the holidays, people go through feeling the blues because we have, shorter days, right? Longer nights. And so there's a lot to talk about. And to get started, is Suicide Prevention Week. And so depression is high.
You know what? Even look what you're saying as far as depression and something that you say. I mean, you've been talking about this like probably within the last week or two. And to me, we understand that suicide is here, it's real. And this is what suicide, like I'm saying, awareness, suicide, prevention, like I'm saying, week month. And to me, like right now, was being incarcerated. Guess what I'm happening? Every year during a holiday, during Thanksgiving, I'm saying my birthday, because my birthday is right after Thanksgiving, and Christmas and New Year's. Right now, I used to get so depressed. Why? Because I miss approximately 15 Thanksgiving, 15
Mhm.
birthday, 15 Thanksgiving, 15 New Year's, New Year's Eve. So right now is even though I've been free, but I'm so used to that during that time of the year, I go into a dark place
Mhm.
because here it is that depression tap me on my shoulder and let me know, hey, we back. You know what time it is. You
Mhm.
know all the stuff that you've been through, all the suffering and pain. And what I'm saying is right now is guess what? You're in a dark place. And if you don't get the proper help, the proper treatment, or you don't got the proper people, loved one in your corner, guess what? That can relate to you contemplating ill-fated things to do to yourself to harm yourself. You know what? I don't want to live no more.
Mhm. Mhm. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Just the fact that you're incarcerated, and you're away from your family, away from your friends, not fully understanding why you got there and how you got there and why you even did what you did in order to get there, and coming to the realization around your own actions and taking that responsibility in a space where you're pretty much alone. It can be quite daunting and very stressful and put you in a dark place. And then to compound that with the holidays and times that, happen throughout the year when you're incarcerated and you're again away from your family, and you do have these shorter days and longer nights and the holiday blues. These are real, you can feel real symptoms associated with that.
And you know what? You're right. And a lot of times people don't understand that because even right now, when you listen to people talk about it, we just had this rapper, you know what I'm saying? What, Breezy, what's his name? Breezy 66. I can't get it right. Breezy 600. You know,
Right.
right now, lost his
Yeah.
girlfriend. His
Yeah.
girlfriend committed suicide. And even right now, he read a note, a
Mhm.
suicide note from his girlfriend and saying, listen, it's not your fault. Basically, right now, you know, when I met you, I had, you know what I'm saying, problem. I was going through certain situation. But
Mhm.
even if you do your little history on this young lady and you see that she was kind of established in the fitness, not only that, in the fitness wear, she had like, you know, same clothing line. And right
Mhm.
now is, but you sit back and think about it. We don't know what a person is going through. We don't know what they being slapped with, what they being attacked with, what they're dealing with from a spiritually, emotionally, mental, you know what I'm saying, like standpoint. We don't know.
No, we don't. And we often associate someone's well being with their status or their financial security or the financial status in life. Like we think that because people have more money or have some occupation that we admire, that some ways that exempts them from being depressed or feeling suicidal or being stressed out. And that is so far from the truth. And so people have a good way of masking when they are feeling sad and depressed. And we often all wear masks for a variety of reasons. And sometimes it's just a way to cope. We don't want to walk into our workplace, whether we own the business or we're an employee, in a state of stress all the time. We're not really letting people into our very dark places in our mind, in our body, in our soul, because we feel very vulnerable and we're not willing to share that kind of information with strangers. And ultimately, your coworkers are really strangers, right? And so that is not usually the place you would share that level of pain. And often we come from a community where depression and stress and anxiety is often looked on as weaknesses, and so we don't necessarily want to share again our weakness or our inability to kind of manage the mounting pressure that we're all under. But we're always trying to create this image that we're feeling and doing better than sometimes we actually are.
Like, sit back and look what you just said. You just said a mouthful. Like you said right now, is we don't want to bring our personal problem to work, but yet in still regards, well, sometimes we're around our coworkers more than we're around our actually husband, wife, mother, mother-in-law, father-in-law, father, brother, sister, kids. We're around them more so than anything. But once again, like you said, we got to put on a mask and we got to pretend we're somebody that's there in your workforce that went through what you went through. But only if they know what you're going through, that, wait a minute, girl. Wait a minute, man. I went through that. This is how I cope and dealt with that. So once again, like I said right now, is guess what? Sometime what we have to do is start being more transparent. Start, like I'm saying right now, holding stuff in. Like, it's a saying that man don't supposed to cry. But the difference right now is I'm not your typical man. If I'm hurt, I'm gonna cry. But once again, a lot of times we want to put in that macho, I'm macho, man. You know what? But sometimes you got to be real. In order to be honest with anybody else, you got to first attempt to be honest with ourselves. And we don't do that enough, doctor. And that's where I think we are losing that because we pretending, we faking the funk. As you say, we wearing these masks when we don't have to be mad. It's sometime right now, life can be come right back to full like circle. Where's this lady years ago? What she say in the popular song? To be real, we got to be real.
Well, when it comes to mental health and emotional well being, I don't know if it's all about necessarily being real, because sometimes we don't fully understand, even personally, what is going on with us. But there's a couple of things that I do want to point out. One is that it is very real, and we are sort of normalized in our society not to take it as a real illness in that sense that we all need to push through. But it is actually, let's speak about suicide, right, in itself. And depression is often like a precursor to suicide. And it is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. And in fact, over 46,000 people committed suicide in 2020. So we're talking about
How many?
someone
How many?
dying.
How many?
46,000 people. So we're talking about someone dying by suicide every 11 minutes. So we're not, this is something that you're right. Perhaps someone on your job or a colleague is going through major depression that could lead to this kind of outcome. And the number of people who think about or attempt suicide is even higher. It's close to 12 million people in America who have seriously thought about suicide, and over 3 million who have actually planned or attempted to do it. So we're talking about a serious disease, a real disease, to coin your phrase, and something that we all should take extremely seriously. Suicide is it's a coping skill, but a very unhealthy coping skill, similar to using drugs or alcohol in excess, right? It's a way that people have decided to cope, that if I can just end my life, all of this pain will go away, and the pain that my loved ones are suffering with. I will no longer be a burden to all of those people, like the young lady mentioned in her note to her beloved. The fact of the matter is, people are struggling with this all the time. And, it's almost like there's a voice, for lack of a better term, there's like a voice in your head that's telling you that this problem is just something you can't handle, that you can't break through, right? It's just mounting, it's pressure, it's the pressure, you know. There's a rapper who says the word all the time. It's the pressure of it all. That just becomes more than you can handle. And so many celebrities and notables, for again, a lack of a better term, in terms of celebrity, whatever that means to our viewers, have attempted suicide. I mean, the list goes on, including, people like Mariah Carey, Halle Berry, all these people have been in that dark space. But you need to find a way to push through. And that's when I totally and absolutely recommend that you seek professional help. Maybe it is not within the four walls of your family and your close network, but maybe it is that you need to go to your primary care physician and try to get a referral for a mental health provider. And sometimes you may need medication to help you cope and manage your depression. There's nothing wrong with that, if it will prevent you from the ultimate unhealthy coping skill, which is death by suicide.
And you know what? Like right now, when you sit back and you think about it, and sometimes you ask yourself right now, even as you made that quote, 46,000 people committed suicide in 2021. I think that's like,
2020. Mm-hmm.
huh? 46,000
2020.
people?
And
Huh?
2020 and 2020 and 21 we were dealing with COVID, so we
Okay,
lost
so
we
all
lost
right.
many
So
people
in
for that.
2020, so okay. But what I'm just trying to say, that's a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
even with that being said, right now, do people actually understand? Like right now, where it's like to me, I can sit back and think about it right now, during some of my darkest moment in my life. Like I can remember being away when I lost my mother and how I felt. Like I said right now, I don't even know how I got here 30 years later, but it changed
Mm-hmm.
me. Right now it's changed me. I didn't want to live no more. I want to trade place with her. Because once again, the most important person that I loved, the most important person that was in my life, the most important person that helped me through everything I've been through was no longer here. And
Mm-hmm.
even like I told you, it go deeper than that right now. Is a basketball player. And shout out to John Walls, right now a basketball player originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. Right now was heck of a career, heck of a player. And basically right now was I listened to him. He spoke about that he contemplating committing suicide. So even when
Mm-hmm.
you sit back and think about it, I'm saying to myself, hold on, wait a minute. This man net worth is $110 million. So once again, what are he talking about or why he's contemplating suicide? But people think that money change things. They think that money make you feel good, make you feel better. Money don't mean nothing. Look at the guy right now. Is that what company was it? It was one of the top company that I guess right now is he defraud the company and then he jump off the roof. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He defrauded them a 1 point something billion dollar. So once again, this dude worth $110 million, and like you say, he contemplates suicide. Why? Because once again, he suffered a hell of a back basketball injury, so he couldn't play ball. Then right now is he watched his mother die, took her last breath. You know what? Then he watched his grandmother die. So right now is when you got two important people that been in your life from the beginning of time that's no longer there. That man, despite he was worth $110 million, he was having thoughts. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do this no more because he couldn't visualize living life without the two most important people in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas he said he slept and stand and stay in the same clothes for 3 days, smelling like he want to be alone. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand that right now is because pain, death, right now is like the loss of somebody that you can't even imagine going on life without them.
Yeah, and what's even more, sad, I think what's even more depressing about suicide is when it happens when young people really decide that that's the way that they want to cope with their difficult circumstances. And so it is actually the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 14 and 25 to 34. Those are the years when you should be most hopeful, right? That's when you're planning your life, you're thinking about what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, trying to figure out, whether you're going to go to college or some other kind of trade school, or you're going to travel the world, and whether you're going to partner, get a steady partner, all sorts of things that go on in your life in those early years. And to think that it's the second leading cause of death for 25 to 34 year olds, and even the really young ones, 10 to 14, is, it says to me that we really have a lot of work to do as a society to understand what is leading to such major depression that then leads to suicide.
Yeah, like I tell you right now, you're right. That is some real life situation that people got to understand. Sometimes the only thing it takes to be kind. You don't know what a person is going through, because a lot of times right now is people conceal it. Some people wear their emotion on their sleeve, but sometimes that kind act of word, like read people, study them. Wait a minute, hold up, man. I done been around Dr. Elisa so long. If I come in and she appear on the platform, her hair's not done, you know what I'm saying? Right now, she got on something all wrinkled or whatever. I know from a standpoint something is wrong. It's signs, but we have to recognize what those signs are, and we have to be able to react and try to do our very best to pay some type of form of human compassion, play it forward. Because if we don't do that, guess what, folks? We ain't no different. We're part of helping them jump over that edge.
I often think people feel like they really can't do anything about it. So when we do see people depressed or down or upset or struggling emotionally, mentally, we don't necessarily feel that we have the emotional capacity or expertise or wherewithal to kind of help people along or out of that dark place, because I feel like as individuals, we're all, one step away from falling into a dark space ourselves. And so it becomes difficult to have that level of, focus on someone else and their mental health. It's not something that we're really paying attention to, because we often feel helpless in what we can do to help or solve the problem.
Okay. And like I try to tell you right now, and that's what people don't understand. Anybody can be, can have a rough time, rough patch, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, loss of anything. Right now is just like right now, health issue. You just got some bad news saying that right now you don't got long to live. But folks, people don't understand right now is, guess what? Everything starts from here. Everything starts from here. And the difference right now, in order to get help, you gotta let people know you need help. Once again, like I told you right now, closed mouth don't get fed. And even right now, when certain things is not going right up there from my mental standpoint or whatever, and things like, I don't want to deal with this no more. I can't stand the pain no more. I can't stand what I'm going through anymore. I want to go. You know what? Like I say, don't be selfish. Think about the people that you leave behind and how it's going to affect them.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that close to 90% of the people who attempt suicide never really go on to die by suicide. So that's a good thing. And that, many people who do seek help for their depression are able to develop healthy coping skills. So that's another good thing, and reinforces why there's a need for us to continue to advocate for mental health treatment and support. And I think the idea that they've come up with this new kind of hotline number to support those who are struggling. There's always been the suicide hotline, but now there's 988, which
What is
is
what is it? What is it?
988.
988.
Yes, 988, like 911.
Well, that's it. 988.
988. Yes.
Okay, cool.
It's the
So
Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and you can call that number or text that number, and someone will be available 24/7 to help support and engage you and provide you with referrals and information for mental health treatment and support. So I think as a society, we're moving to a place where we're able to provide support 24/7 to people who are in crisis. And we have a suicide and crisis lifeline now that can help those individuals when they're struggling and they're in their dark place.
And you know what? That's good, because once again, people don't understand. There's so many different situations and out there that's for people if we take advantage of it. But a lot of times right now we don't. I don't know why. It's like right now everybody act like we want to put our pride away when it's not necessary. If I'm hungry and I say, "Yo, Doc, I'm jacked up. I lost my job. Things not going right. I'm starving." These days in time, you know what you say? Look, okay, cool. Look, this is what I can do. Or you know what? I know this program that can help you at this present time. It's so many different things, but the bottom line is what we have to do is how do we build together? How do we come together to empower, to uplift, to encourage, to get us to that next level? But if you put your pride away, I'm not asking for help. Nobody
Mm,
can't read your mind. You
absolutely.
got to raise your hand and say, I need help.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we're gonna stay stuck.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Another thing right now is like, I was thinking about and talking about is this, man. Like, with these kids, like going back to school. And to me, like right now is like, I remember when I used to go to school, how the first day back, the first week back, everybody excited. You remember, like right now is that Sunday before that Monday, you got to go to school.
Mhm.
Normally people out in the playground, people out in the project, people out in the neighborhood, like nonstop. But right now, when everybody know they got to go back to school, right now that street is clear. You don't see nothing or nobody. All these little kids is happy, like they getting ready for Christmas, Santa Claus. But they so
Mhm.
happy because they going back to school. Right now to show off their new clothes, to be with their friends, to learn, whatever the situation may be. But now what I'm starting to see right now is guess what? When these kids going to school, are we as parent, mother, father, grandparent, you know what I'm saying, aunts, uncle, guardians, are we checking these kids' book bag? Right now, it's nothing wrong with checking a book bag, checking a backpack. Why? Because once again, every time you look around, you turn on the news, what you see, what you hear, shooting in these schools, kids are getting murdered, kids are getting executed. Why? What is going on? And to me, right now, it's nothing wrong. Well, I want to respect their privacy. Man, listen, if they living under your roof, I don't see nothing wrong. Hey, Billy, Bobby, hey, Mary, Sue, hey, Juanita, come over here. Let me see what you got in your book bag. Let me see. You know what? You don't gotta say nothing. They living in your household. Hold on, wait a minute here. What the hell you get this 9 millimeter from? Where you get this 22 from? Where you get this pepper spray from? Where you get this knife from? Where you get this pipe from? What's going on? Where you get these brass knuckles from?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand as children get older that parents may have some apprehension around sort of invading their privacy and sort of respecting their boundaries. But I guess what I hear you saying is that, with everything that's going on today, it should be sort of routine that we, engage in checking our children's backpacks. I don't know if that's so much the issue, though. I think we should be engaged in healthy conversation all the time about our children, with our children, about their fears, their anxiety, their concerns, because I think those are the things that lead to the dysfunctional behaviors like the need to carry a gun. And let's not just put it off on young people bringing guns to school. I mean, these mass murders that go on in schools where people aren't necessarily in the school, but just show up to the school, with, mass, weapons for mass destruction and are killing young people. So what is going on in the minds of our young people that this has been the way that they have coped with their anger or their frustration or their position in life. I think all of it is concerning, and so yeah, it's one thing to check the backpack, but there's another thing around the messaging that's going on in our society and why young people feel a need to carry guns and why our lawmakers aren't willing to really shift policies that speak to firearms in America. Like, why is there a need for certain types of mass weaponry? Like, is there a need for that? We there's a lot for all of us to do, particularly when we're in a society where people do feel very afraid about everything. And so sometimes children are bringing weapons to school because of that fear. And that has to be recognized. And so what role do we as a society play in protecting them?
And you know what? Don't get me wrong. Like you say, hey, I've been there, done that. Where as far as right now, at one point in time, guess what? I can remember going to Thomas Jefferson. Do you remember the school, high school Thomas Jefferson?
Yeah.
What do you remember about on high school Thomas Jefferson?
I remember it being like, well, it was in East New York. It is in
Yeah,
East New York. And at
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Pennsylvania Avenue. And in the 80s and 90s, it was an extremely dangerous school. There was a lot of violence. There was, shootings and guns and robberies and all sorts of things that went on. At during those time, people would get, mugged for their coats and glasses and all sorts of strange and crazy things that kids would mug each other over and with a gun. So yeah, it was a very violent and dysfunctional school at the time.
Okay. So anyway, right now, so imagine when I went there, I'm right there probably in the late 70s. And you know what? It was rough. I'm not going to even sit here and try to job you. It was real rough. That what I used to do is I used to take my dad, I'm saying, nickel plated 22 pistol, I'm saying, my book bag, I'm saying, right now to school. And the difference right now is because I'm 14, 15, it's a rough area. Any and everything goes. See, people don't understand what all this stuff stem from. It go back to bullying. I'm saying,
Mhm.
anybody ever been bullied, been like taken advantage of, slap around, whatever, got milk poured over them, got their lunch money take. That's a form of bullying. And the difference right now is, guess what? Nobody like how that feel. So my objective, even then, before I became who I became, I felt I needed my pop gun with me to protect me. Not that I was going to do anything with that, but just in case I got it. So once again, even if somebody step on my sneakers, but I got that gun, is that worth me shooting somebody? I don't think so. But sometimes by having a gun, it give you a false sense of security. Like, despite I never had to use the gun in Thomas Jefferson, I can remember years later in Thomas Jefferson when we had the first black mayor, Mayor Dinkins. And
Mhm.
right now, what happened was he attended Thomas Jefferson for some type of form of presentation. And what happened was two kids was murdered while our mayor of New York City was in that school in 1992. So 14 years after the fact that I, Brian Glaze Gibbs, brung in a gun in Thomas Jefferson, two
Mm.
kids got killed. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
During that period of time. And folks, what people don't understand is right now was sometime in life, history has the tendency of repeating itself over and over and over again. And what I'm saying is this, like, to me, when I look at it, and I remember right now was that whole little situation was put in the newspaper by Michael McAlary, one of the renowned reporter from New York City. And guess what? He spoke and he told him, because me and him had a heart-to-heart conversation. He's saying right now, look, Brian Glaze Gibbs was the first one that brung a gun in Thomas Jefferson High School, which was true.
Mm.
And he got that information from me. And the difference was he went on to make a cross comparison. Because during that period of time when that happened, I was in the process of getting sentenced. And right now, as John Gotti was on trial. So right now, John Gotti was a Teflon Don. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Right now, with the mob boss up, the Gambino family. So he was on trial. So once again, what Michael McAlary in that newspaper clipping during that period of time was saying, look, John Gotti grew up in East New York. Brian Glaze Gibbs grew up in East New York. John Gotti went to Thomas Jefferson. Brian Glaze Gibbs went to Thomas Jefferson. Most black kids can't grow up to be John Gotti, but they can grow up to be Brian Glaze Gibbs. So when you sit back and look at it, despite we talk about something, I brought in the gun in school in 1978. These kids got killed 14 years later. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
In 1992. And here it is right now is how many years later are we speaking about? 30 years later, we still talking about these kids bringing guns into the school. And the
So what
difference,
is so what is the consistent variable there? What is the issue?
The
There's
issue.
it's not the glaze. There's something that's going on systemically, and I'm not talking about the dysfunction of the actual school, and I'm not necessarily talking about the dysfunction of the actual community that the building is located in. I'm talking about the individual students that attend the schools and the families that they are connected to. What is the common denominator? What is it that causes this need, or what is it that results in this need to bully or fight, punch, slap, kick other people, bring weapons, engage in gang activities, or sexual deviance? Like, what happens? What is going on with these individual children? Are we saying that it's just a group of children that have these problems, or is there something that is going on in a particular community around the families that these children are connected to? What is going on there? Because I
I
grew
don't.
up in East New York, and so I don't want to say it's just the community, because I did not bully anyone and I didn't bring a weapon to school. And I really didn't fight much. I didn't have, I mean, if someone bought the heat, I didn't, back down. I was able to, stand my ground, but I didn't engage in fighting. It wasn't something that, I felt a need to do. So why? So what is going on? Like, we can talk about the problem, but there's something. If you bought a gun in the 70s and now it's, you know 2022, and we're still having these same issues, what is the consistent denominator?
You know what? I don't think people are paying attention to what is going on in these classrooms, what is going on in the gym, what is going on in the homeroom, what is going on in the cafeteria. Because a lot of times right now is, I don't know whether it's a staffing issue, whether it's a budget issue, whatever the situation may be. But the difference is, I think if you have more eyes, more ears on these situations, that you can be there and prevent a lot of this stuff before it escalates. So right now, before this cat can get his lunch money taken. Hey, what are you doing, Bob? I know goddamn well you ain't
No,
over
I
here
think
disrespecting little Billy.
Well, I think you're actually putting it on the system to take
No,
care of
I'm
your
not. I'm not.
children.
I'm not.
And I disagree with that.
No,
I
no.
think
But
that
okay,
we need, I'm just saying,
we.
I
But
mean, I
what I'm
respect
saying,
everything you say. I'm just saying that
we.
I think we need
Hold
to
up.
hold a responsibility for the actions of our children. And I don't
Okay,
know
of course. But what I'm
who
saying
should
is,
be responsible for that.
okay,
They
but
are connected to parents. They're connected to adults. They're putting their key in the door somewhere. And we can't say all of them are in foster care, because even if they were in foster care, they should have responsible foster parents, because those foster parents are being paid a stipend to house them. So what is going on in our families?
what
What
I'm
role
saying
do
is,
men play in the community? What role
okay.
do mothers play?
Can I speak?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Okay, I understand. I'm not trying to offend you or hit on a touchy situation, but if we having a conversation, I'm gonna give you the floor like I expect to have the floor. But I don't want you to take anything personal. I'm just expressing myself. What can possibly be the problem? Sometime right now, you're right. It all started as far as in the household, making sure we holding these kids accountable. But some of these kids that not being held accountable, that's being a bully, that causes some of the problem, if we have certain people in place that, oh, wait a minute, hold on, what are you about to do? That's like if you walking past a situation and you see something being unjustly done, guess what? Out of the out of being a concerned individual, you going, oh, wait a minute, that's wrong. So what I'm just trying to say right now, you're right. Accountability go in the household and everywhere. But I'm just trying to say right now is sometime everywhere we look at, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's in the school system, wherever it is, it's a lot of cutback. So when we had school, I don't even know where we have what schools on crossing guard. Do they still have that?
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, no. Yes.
Do they still
Well,
have school crossing guards?
yes, they do. They
But
still
but I'm
have.
just but I'm just trying to say certain things that because of the system and
Mhm.
because of budget and money been taken away. But once again, you're right. The accountability start from within the household, teaching kids how when they out there to be on their best behavior. But once again, you got some kids that's just stronger than other kids. But when you have the stronger kids taking advantage of the weaker kids, who's there to protect the weaker kids?
Well, let's look at just let's use something like bullying because that often comes up. And yes, I think we agree to disagree, and we both have opinions about different things in life, and that's what makes this podcast, The Beauty and the Beast and the Predator and Prey, very much interesting and something that people can listen to and have different points of view presented. So let's look at bullying. I just feel like bullying is a form of violence, right? And so, where does that come from when you're young? Where does bullying, where do you get or develop this idea that if you bully people, you will get some level of attention? There, to me, bullying is something, it's a behavior that comes out of a need to be seen, a need to be felt, a need to feel like you are recognized or respected, right? To feel like you have some kind of power over someone else, because you have been minimized or you've dealt with certain traumas in your life that haven't been totally worked through via, you know, family conversations or counseling or whatever is needed to get you through that. But for someone to want, bully usually inflicts harm on someone else. So why do you feel a need to inflict harm? And what roles does is it that our families play in that?
You know
That's
what?
all.
That's a hell of a point because once again, like, what role do our parents play? But the difference right now is if I came up in abusive situation and I'm being abused,
That's true.
hurting people hurt other people. And a lot of
Exactly.
times right now is we don't know the answer. I'm not, like I said right now, is like trying to point the finger at anybody.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to say right now, if we have more eyes, more ear, the more we able to see, even if you driving. And right now is, to me, if you in bumper to bumper traffic, guess what? Automatically you focus on everything ahead of you because you know only thing take one little mistake, boom, and you got a fender bender. But when you can see clearly down the pathway and you know you can maneuver, guess what? That's the same thing like what I'm just trying to say right now in the school system. Sometimes the less staff we have, sometimes we have more problem because once again, if you got people walking around, it's no different in our community. When they talk about the police, once again, when people look around, they about to do something and they see a police car all the way around. Every time you see something around, oh man, it's cops here. We got to get out of here because we're gonna get in trouble. But when they
Mhm.
see or they don't see nothing there to prevent them from causing havoc, guess what they're gonna do? Oh yeah, right now these guys going on a donut break, man. They're gonna be over there at, what I'm saying, Bob Donut Shop for the next 2 hours or whatever. So we can go over there and hit that spot. So once again, like I tell you, when we got eyes, we got ears, we got camera, chances are a lot of that stuff goes away. Opposed to when people feel, oh man, I can do this and I can get away with it. And to me, like I said right now, guess what? I feel I hate bullying. And shout out to my man Keith Bowen. I'm saying right now is A and YA Poet and Vegas 702 Bully Buster. Because once again, like I say, I think I was bullying to becoming who I became. And
You were
sometimes
bullied or bullying? Like you were
I was
bullying
bullying
people?
somebody. No, I was
Someone
bullied.
bullied you.
I was bullied into becoming a bully.
Oh, okay. I get you. Okay.
Because once again, people do not quite understand what we really up against or whatever. And a lot of times right now, nobody want to be a sucker.
Mm.
Nobody want to be taken advantage of. So once again, either you gonna, do you want a butt whipping? Do you want to receive a butt whipping? Or you want to dish out that butt whipping?
It's interesting you would say that too, because I was actually at a school the other day, and one of the students came in, and they had the student was very much well engaged, ready for graduation, preparing for the future, noted that they were going into trade school, that kind of thing. However, the student had on a do rag and their jeans were sagging. So it was interesting because I asked the staff who were there on site, I said, do you have any rules around do rags and sagging pants in this particular space? And they said no, because they believe that sagging pants and do rags are cultural, and that they don't want to necessarily say anything to the students because they felt like that was Black culture. And I guess I'm saying that to say, you know, yeah, you may have a lot of staff around and a lot of people looking and a whole lot of cameras and all sorts of things, but when do you intervene, and what do you intervene for and around when you're not really sure what things are cultural, what things are just, when students are calling each other the N word and you hear that in rap music, I would say, I would not would not want children to call each other the N word in my building. There's nothing cultural about that. But someone else may not intervene in that situation because they're seeing the N word as a cultural way that people of color communicate. So again, I'm just going back to the role, not as just parents, but the role that the adults in the community play in sort of policing their community, right? And setting up a set of rules and values and expectations in that community that the children in that community are expected to follow. And if the adults aren't setting that standard, I don't think that they should think or look to the system to set it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, and that's why I said right now is like, to me, I knew earlier. I just was talking in general. I didn't mean to offend or step on your toes or anything. But once again, what I'm just trying to say is when you look, and that's why I take a collective effort to brainstorm to try to come up with the right solution.
Right.
Because once again, like you say right now, what type of support, even right now, like to me, like with y'all guys, I'm talking about anybody that's into the education field, into helping other people, into providing a service, sometimes be taken advantage of. Because once again, like even when you sit back and think about it, when they had the pandemic and people had to stay home, and how many disgruntled parents you had because they want that break. They want that break from their midget. They want that break from their kids. And what I'm just trying to say right now is what sometimes y'all get hit with the blunt of it. And
Mm-hmm.
that was not my intention of what I was just saying. I'm just saying it's no different. So even right now, what the expectation of the people in the school system, their expectation should be twice or triple that in the home. But it's not necessarily the case, because right now, when we sit back and think about it, right now is somebody, when you got young kids having kids, how can they teach their kids? And what I'm trying to say right now is, a lot of things go deep in the original surface. And then even something that we was talking about. Look what's going on when we talk about the guns in the schools and certain things. Like same these kids at home and they getting raped, molested, you know what I'm saying, abused. But once again, here it is from the quote unquote our community. We are taught no snitching. So when you sit back and you think about it and you telling these kids that being abused, that they mama brought home a man fresh out of the pen, right now is, guess what? They don't, oh girl, you see how my man look? He got muscle everywhere. He's in the best shape in his life. He even got muscle in his teeth. But then again, when you're not around, what he doing to your
Not his teeth.
what is he doing to his kids? And even if you find out that he raped your daughter or sodomized your son, but then again, you no snitching. And to me, what I'm saying is, even with this snitching situation, what I think that is handicapping the community. We are basically putting ourselves how many years backwards? Hundreds of years backwards, because when we see something being done wrong, and right now, unless you Samuel Jackson in Time to Kill, when these guys did that to his daughter and what he did, nah, you know what I'm saying, he took justice into his own hand. Most people is not like that. But once again, how you gonna have a low life or bring these people into our community, into our household, but yet and still, regardless of what, when we watch Miss Shirley right now is the grandmother, the godmother of the community, but we watch people rob her. We watch people break into her home. We watch people. This woman fed so many people and helped so many people in the community, but we watch people taking advantage of her. But we as community, we can't say anything because what is being said, no snitching. The difference is it's not no snitching, it's doing the right thing. Do the right thing, as Spike Lee once say, and change that mentality and change that behavior and start trying to build a more healthy and productive community. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. No, you raise a really good point, and I think that was a great segue from the conversation around how the individuals in the school felt that certain types of behaviors or the way that we carry us. I'm sorry for the dog in the back. Carry ourselves is cultural, and I think we also feel the same way about snitching. Snitching has, or not snitching, it has become something that is normalized in our community. And it's almost seen like if you are the person who tells about something that's dysfunctional in your community, you're the bad person. You're the person that's no good. You're outcast from your community. And again, where is this coming from? Who is setting these standards? Where are these values coming from? Where are these expectations coming from? How have we've gone from a community of kings and queens to now, if you snitch on someone who's harming your community, you're considered the bad guy. Like, where is that coming from? I can tell you one thing. I know, we were like reminiscing a little bit, and as I was thinking about, like, growing up, the one thing that I think actually helped me a lot was that I had fear for my dad. My dad would show up at the school, or and I mean, he would show up, not just like he would just show up, right? And in a very like hostile way, like, what are you doing? Why aren't you respecting these teachers? And why aren't you respecting the whatever you're supposed to be doing, and that kind of thing. So again, because I had that role model or that person that set boundaries or expectations or values for his family, that was what I gravitated to. So I think we're missing that in our community now. I think we are missing that group of elders or those who we respect in our community that can set certain standards and expectations for our children. And the reason why snitching has become like the bad thing to do is because somehow we relate that or correlate snitching with being brutalized by police. Like there's a connection between snitching and, say, that leads to the penal system, right? And that system isn't good. So, but the things that you're doing aren't good. So there's no, but when you do things that are unhealthy for your community or bad for your community, you may wind up in jail or in prison. That is the consequences. And until we can be real about the consequences and not blame the very system that we know is designed to oppress and depress, then it's up to us as individuals to try to change the trajectory.
Let me show you something right now, okay? And it's kind of ironic. Like yesterday, I was on Hassan Campbell. I was on Hassan Campbell platform.
Hassan.
Yeah, Hassan Campbell. Shout out to Hassan.
Shout
Right
out
now,
to
he got nearing 500,000 subscribers. And
Shout
right
out to
now, we see a lot of times people don't understand. Like, he built a hell of a platform. So yesterday, when I was on that platform, and right now, there's a few other people that's on there, and we started like debating. And one guy came to me, well, asked me a question about me cooperating, me making a deal or whatever. And to me, he said, well, Glaze, you made a deal against your brother. And to me, what I try to do is, especially when I'm at peace, I try to address that. And when everybody say that, right now, cooperation, first of all, like I told you, I should never be in a predicament that I was in the first place. Like, to me, when I sit back and I think about all that stuff or whatever, and it's so damn overrated. But right now, guess what?
Yes, killing people is well overrated. Absolutely.
No, I'm
Running
not saying
murder.
that. I'm not. What I'm trying to say right now is, first of all, I should never been that predicament in the first place. I should
Right.
never been out there poisoning, killing, robbing, stealing, selling drugs. None of that.
Thank you.
That's the difference right
Listen
now.
to the
Is
man, people. Listen to what he's saying. That's true. Absolutely. That is the best thing you've said in a very long time. No, I'm just joking. You say great things all the time. Did you freeze or are you
no,
just like
I'm waiting because, from my understanding, like despite I am not as highly educated you are, and I don't have all that equity, all that good stuff that you have. But my thing was like, I learned from the South mannerism, not to interrupt, not to certain things. I just try to weigh off of. But once again, like to me, it's like to me, I look at life differently. Whereas I screwed up. I want to be down. I want to be cool. And what we talk about, the bullying situation, I think right now is, guess what? I'd rather do something to somebody than have somebody rob me, than somebody hurt me or do something to me or mine. So what happened is, from a psychological standpoint, I became that boogeyman. So even with that being said, when the day of judgment, when me and Fat Cat sat and stood in MCC, and I'm like, yo, man, we are done. We are through. They want you. They want me. They want Pappy. They want the Chinese connection. Right now is, you know what? We might well let everybody else, your mother, your wife, you know what I'm saying, right now is Pappy mother. You know what I'm saying? Your girlfriend, your nieces and them. My brother, everybody, let them go against us because we're done. And when I made that proposition, he came back, nah, man, you go to trial first. Let's see what they got against you. Then I go to trial. And it was a wake up call. Time out, man. You already got 25 life for the state. I don't have nothing. So right now is, you're not going to use me as a human guinea pig. So automatically, me not being the smartest but not being the dumbest, I made a conscientious decision. Time out. So what I did when I made a deal, and people don't understand right now, no, I'm not mad at the fact that I cooperated, made a deal with the United States government. I'm mad at the fact that I put myself in that predicament in the first place. So when people start sitting back, think about it, I was facing possible a death sentence, a life sentence when I made a deal. But the difference with people got to understand, get away from the snitching shit. Get away from my kids not telling that Bob, Joe, Mary, Sue brought guns in the school. They don't want to tell you because they think it's snitching. They don't want to tell you that your boyfriend, the nigga that just came out of jail, is raping them or sodomizing them. Because guess what? Guess what? That's snitching. You told them, don't tell on your sister. Don't tell about this. Keep your mouth shut. We in the project. We in the ghetto. And we got to have that ghetto mentality. That stuff got to stop. That stuff got to change. The difference is, if you see somebody doing something wrong, guess what? They know they're doing something wrong, but they feel they can hide behind that ghetto mentality, no snitching. Come on. We are brainwashing these kids at a very early age, and they're taking it from the cradle to the grave. That's why we got so much a social issue and problem going on in our community, and nobody really care about it because they standing by the code that really, who made that code?
can I speak? I'm,
Yes,
I'm asking permission.
you see me, if I yield the floor to you, by you got the
Okay,
floor.
thank you. I agree with you. The normalization of the snitch, no snitch rule is absolutely absurd. I do have a question though. At what point did you feel that, I want to phrase this correctly, at what point in your life did you feel that it was not a good idea to, I don't want to use the word snitch,
You
but
snitch.
that it, I
You
mean, I
snitch,
feel like
rat,
what I'm
operate,
trying to say,
tell. Now,
it's in your early life when you were engaged in criminogenic behavior, did you actually feel it was okay to tell on people that was engaged in similar behavior?
No, it wasn't.
Okay,
um,
why?
be- because of this belief system that you grow up and you're taught and you believe it. And right now is I have been guilty of people going to testify at a trial, murder them. I have been guilty of that, murdering people, family members, so they can come to their funeral to execute them at the funeral. I have been guilty of that. But once again, what I'm saying is this: because sometimes everybody, like in my culture, in my geographical area, we got caught up into that street life, which is some type of form of gangsterism. So when everybody want to be the do's and the don'ts, the rules and the regulation, who should do what, who shouldn't do this. So even yesterday, as I say, as I was on Hashan Campbell platform, and a young gentleman, will confront me about that or whatever, and tell me stuff about my brother. Well, you told your brother, bro. How can I tell my brother? My brother worked for me. So if my brother worked for me, how the hell can I tell him my brother? I didn't tell him my brother. You know what I'm saying? So the difference is he going by. So he going by. He going. What he's going by is this. He going by what other people is telling him, or what other people say, or what he got going on. And you know what? That's not the case. What I'm trying to say right now, I know what I did, and I don't know what I didn't do. So once again, when he confronted me about certain situation, when he don't quite understand exactly what's going on, yes, everybody, I got a book out. It's been in the New York Daily News and everywhere. I made a deal. In my book, I told him I made a deal. Everybody know that. But the difference right now is even with making a deal, is that right now I came clean. So nobody gonna come along and say, Glaze testify against me. Glaze put me in jail based upon his words. But I made a deal.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess the question becomes, did you make a deal in order to save yourself from more time or worse outcome, or did you
No,
make a deal because you felt it was the morally correct thing to do?
I made a deal because once again, since I didn't make a deal, me and you wouldn't be on this platform today. I would have had 1,000,001 years in jail on medication by the toilet bowl, taking my medication, drinking that water out of the toilet bowl, going blah 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 blah. So when you sit back and think about it, sometimes what helped you and what saved you is listening. I was more loyal to somebody that wasn't loyal to me. So right now, when he told me, yo, you go to trial first, let's see what they got against you, then I go to trial. And I'm like, hold up, did you understand what the hell you just told me? Soon I got there, he gave me a hit list of some of the people that he want taken care of, while me and him both there knew that my crew was still out there and we could get it done. So when you sit back and think about it, wait a minute. And not only that, it's like right now is sometimes it's a way. Sometimes you need a way out to get away from that nonsense. And right now, who the hell was I to say who live and who died? I'm not God. So, but yet and still,
So, how did you? Because I know young people are listening and they respect you, and your story is absolutely one that should be on the big screen because it is a lot to learn from your experience, particularly your experience as a young person between the ages of 14 and 24. And so, I think that Hollywood is missing out on a great opportunity. So, shout out to all the producers that would be able to maybe offer that opportunity about the experiences in the 80s and 90s in East New York and Brownsville. I do want, in Queens, I do want to ask though, what was the revelation? What was it during that time that said to you, I want a way out? I no longer want to engage in this kind of behavior. I want to be forgiven for all the people who I've hurt, whether directly or indirectly. Like, what was it? And what message would you give young people?
you know what? It go deeper than that. And right now is that revelation came before I got arrested. That revelation came like I like to say during the first week of May of 1988. Right now is I was out. I was in South Carolina. Right now is, and I got a phone call, and with that phone call, somebody was incarcerated. Called my headquarters in Cyprus, And based upon the information the guy from Rikers Island was giving me, and I got it as I received that call, I told my guy right then and there, the next time we see this individual, he's out of here. Less than 12 hours, he was gone. And right now, when I got back to New York City, my uncle happened to be there when the guy got murdered. And right now, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, when the guy got murdered. And right now, a bunch of people around near Cypress Hill Project. And the guy told him, said, yo, the detective said, yo, y'all know who did this? Nobody was saying anything. So he's asking, y'all know who did this? Who do all the shit that happened around here? Glaze. So my uncle said he was amazed and surprised because he knew I was in South Carolina. So he knew I didn't do it. But once again, I did do it because I gave the word. When I got back to New York and I'm around my guys, I can remember crying, saying to them, who am I to say who lived and who died? You know, at times you wanted a power structure so strong that nothing could penetrate through it. Then you get that, you know, that's not what you really want. So even at that moment, I didn't want to do it no more. But sometimes you in there, like, you know, too deep. You in there, you invested, and you want to walk away. But it wasn't until that time, like I say, when I'm there and I'm telling him, listen, man, later for we done. At 24 years old. And see, people don't even understand. I became who I became between the age of 14 to 24. Everything that's written or said about me was between the age of 14 to 24. And you sit back and think about it. I'm not trying to make the excuse, but 14 to 24 is still like, damn, you still a kid. You still a young man. But the stuff that we was doing, the blood that I had on my hand, and guess what? My act and activity, it wasn't of a normal 14 to 24-year-old man.
Yeah, your frontal lobe wasn't even developed. Um, yeah,
My what?
but frontal lobe, that part of your brain that anyway.
See, you
It's,
going deep on me.
I know, no, don't even worry about it. But I get what you're saying, that you're still very immature. You're not really sure of yourself. You don't necessarily have a full concept or idea around life. And so to engage in such antisocial and deviant behavior at such a young age is difficult. It's difficult to fully understand. And maybe at 24, 25, when you finally made the decision that this wasn't the path that you wanted to go down for whatever was the driving force that led you in that direction, it was a good thing. And maybe, if we can continue to encourage and raise awareness and inform our young people, they can avoid going down the same dark path. You often speak also about like your experiences as a young person, even before 14, and some of the things that went on in your life. And maybe some of that also contributed to why you had such negative outcomes during that time period. But, we also don't want to minimize, like, although you found forgiveness in yourself and you found healing in a way to move beyond your circumstances, there are many people that are out there that believe that that kind of lifestyle is something to be glorified and something to be proud of and something to, sort of lift as, the positive in our community. And it's very sad. And you hear it not from young people that are between, 8 and 24 or 10 and 25 or whatever, age range we want to use. You're hearing it from people over 35 years old, 40 and 50 years old, glamorizing, murderous behavior. And to me, that's extremely concerning. Their frontal lobe is fully developed. So what is it about their maturity and their mindset that makes them feel that it's okay to destroy the community?
I don't think they think it's okay. I just think they're lost. I just think right now is they so used to believing that wrong is right and right is wrong. So once again, how do we get them to understand? Like what helped me in my transition was pain. Right now is one of the biggest factor in my life that caused me to be out. I just celebrate 25 years on July 28th. 25 years of freedom when they only gave me 45 to 90 days to survive. One of the biggest transformation, I knew I wasn't going back because when I was in there, I lost my mother, who's my mother, my father, my big sister, my best friend. And I refused to continue to allow her teaching to be in vain. So once again, it's like when you quit and when you say enough is enough, sometime right now, in order to change, it takes pain. And what I mean by this, when she died, I'm in a hole under investigation, locked down, based upon I didn't do anything, but I'm in a hole under investigation because people think what I might do because I was upset. So once again, being judged once again because of my past, my reputation. Now, when I'm in that hole and I get that news that the woman I love more than life itself is gone. So now I'm beating myself up. I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing anything because you talk about traumatized, you talk about in the days, you talk about loony, I lost it. I'm crying. I can't figure it out. I'm like, asking God, show me a sign that my mother is all right. Show me a sign. And right now I can remember that Sunday going into Monday. Monday was like a blizzard. Only thing you see is snow coming down. You know what I'm saying? Like a blizzard. And I saw a white rabbit dashing through that snow. That was a sign to like kind of like get it together. She all right. And from that point, I start reminiscing, talking about all the blood that was on my hand, directly and indirectly. And right now, it helped me to identify the pain and suffering that I directly, indirectly inflicted upon the victim and their family. So if I'm feeling like this, how the hell was they feeling? And even right now, less than probably 3 weeks after my mother died, I got sentenced in front of Judge Edward Corman in Brooklyn Federal Court. Right now, time of judgment. And like I tell you, everybody talking. They asked me, do I have anything to say? And I can remember word for word, over 30 years ago. I told that man, 30 and a half years ago, I can't blame Fat Cat, Pappy. I can't blame anybody for what I did. Everything I did it because that's what I wanted to do. It took the death of my beloved mother to help me to understand the pain and suffering that I inflicted upon the victim and the victim family. And with that type of pain, I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. And what these kids got to understand, you're not playing Grand Theft Auto. You probably master that game on your computer, on a big TV, but guess what? You don't master it in full life, in real life. You don't master it. And what I'm just trying to tell people automatically right now is guess what? You know what? To me, I'm glad I got myself together. I'm glad I will be able to put all those bad chapter behind and put dirt on it. I'm glad I am not that same sick individual anymore. I had to get help. And right now, it's like, to me, yeah, I had a problem up here. I used to black out. And right now, you're right. Somebody say something, I did something like the young man said on Hashan Campbell platform. Oh man, I know if I was right there with you, you would take my head off. Yeah, that's who I once was. But once again, you don't put yourself in that type of predicament. My proven days is over. Only thing I want to prove that I can be a law-abiding, productive citizen, that I can right my wrong, that I can share my life experience through these platforms to get these kids to understand. Stop picking that break, throwing at that prison wall for nothing. Stop trying to impress these people that don't give a damn about you. That's it. So right now is guess what? I am not no angel. I was never was. But I am a much better person than I was way back when. You can speak. Unmute. You mute. You are mute. You mute. Unmute. You mute. I guess you don't understand that she's mute, so we cannot hear her. Doc, you're mute.
My
You're
mute button, I'm sorry. My mute button wasn't working. I apologize for that. So I guess the moral to the story around snitching is what?
The moral in the story is this right now: it's no such thing as snitching. It's the such thing if you hold yourself accountable and do what you're supposed to do, you don't have to worry about snitching. A lot of times people they hide behind you can't tell. That's why we got so much of crime, so much of rape, so much of child molestation, all that stuff that we got going on in this community within our family because they got no snitching. That's overrated. The difference is right now, if everybody do what they need to do, is morally correct, you don't have to worry about that. Hold yourself accountable.
I think the community believes that no snitching has to do with really not cooperating with the police, not necessarily that it's destructive to the community. And until we see and understand that the criminogenic behaviors that people are engaged in that destroy our communities, that then prompt other people to say, this is why I want to move out of this neighborhood. This is why I don't want to live in this community. This is why if I ever get some money, I'm going to move to so and so, is because they don't feel safe in that community. But at the same time, we're associating, snitching with somehow not cooperating with the police, but we do not see the connection between that and safety in our community. And until we understand that safety is what we all want and desire and need, and when you feel safe, you also feel love. And that's something you also mentioned, that the love that you have for your mom and the loss of your mom then propelled you to begin to think about what you were going to do with the rest of your life and the decisions that you had to make. Until we start to understand that, yeah, we are going to continue to have quite a bit of dysfunction in our homes and in our neighborhoods.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying right now. I just want these kids and people to understand right now. I wasn't proud who I once was. I'm proud of the person I am today. And you know what? Right now, is stop hiding behind other people or their philosophy of make believe, bootleg theory. No, do it right the first time, and you don't have to get caught up into that. And what I'm saying is this, man: these kids right now, as parents, let's get aggressive this year. Right now, is let's get aggressive. Hit their backpack, hit their book bag, see what the hell's in it. Talk to them, have dinner, have conversation, real life conversation. Hey, listen, put the phone down, get away from the
Meditation,
gate.
meditation.
Let's come to the dinner table. Let me see what's going on in your life. We have to get back to the basic principle, and that's where we're losing at. Everybody too caught up into everything. That right now is like we too in love, are addicted to social media, to the computer, to these electronic. That guess what? We backed away from spending quality time with our loved one. When the last time you tell your loved one, your mother, your father, your son, your daughter that you love them? Your husband, your wife. When the last time that we did that? When the last time you husband take your wife to walk in the park? Or wife, take your husband right now, give him his favorite dessert, I'm saying, kiss him on his neck. I love you. I'm saying it's like simple Simon things. We have to get back to the basic. Love thy neighbor. Respect each other. Right now was what we talking about.
Miss Glaze, he's telling you what he needs tonight.
What I need now, I'm good. I'm good. Like
No,
I
you're
told you.
absolutely right. I think we need to find more, we need to normalize the love, the passion, the compassion, right? The connection between one another. The fact that we don't necessarily feel vulnerable when we're doing nice and kind things with our partners, and that we're showing, right? We're modeling in our home love and affection. Because I think, sometimes because of work and the stress and the fact that, people of color, we often feel so beat down by everything. You come home and you take it out on the people you love, and you don't really understand totally how to, compartmentalize like the pain that you're experiencing in society, and then, what you should be experiencing or manifesting in your home. And so I agree with you. We should be very intentional around how we treat one another, because one thing we know about children, they learn from what they see.
You see what this brother say, night man, Uncle Glaze. We need to, as a community, go knock on the doors of the shooters and rob a house and let them know, shoot again, we coming in. Wow.
Exactly. That's right, Night Man. That's what I'm talking about. Hold the community responsible. Police your community. Then you don't have to worry about the consequences, because I agree with Night Man. It's the consequences around the snitching, because of the connection between that and the penal system, because we believe that the penal system, and it is absolutely true, is all connected to white supremacy and, right, the prejudice and racism in this society, in this place we call the United States of America. But if we police our own communities and hold the people in our communities accountable for what they're doing, right, to the people who live in those communities, maybe we'll see a place that is filled with more love and safety. Like, I felt really disappointed with that video I shared with you. I think it was last week, where we had the elderly people crying. There was a whole story about,
Exactly.
elderly people in the Bronx that are being
Victims.
brutalized by young people, mobs of young people coming in, knocking them down, hitting them with, branches and pushing them. The older people had scars on their knees and elbows. It was horrible. Who is holding these children accountable? How can we even sit back and allow that?
But sit back and think about it, right?
I
Similar
agree
to
with Nightman.
similar to Captain Dennis. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Similar.
Shout
The,
out to
diff-
Peace.
the difference is right now, shout out to Captain Dennis, because once again, it is answers. But
That's
even
right.
right now, what I look at, and I always say to myself, as I got a better understanding, as I got knowledge. Like right now, is I listen to people talk about, well, Glaze, I used to look up to you before you made a deal, and you made a deal and you hurt me. So I'm listening to so many different people telling me this, that I hurt them because I made a deal. Even CK, he told me this. And like I try to
Who's
explain, you
CK?
looked up to me. You, huh?
Who's CK?
Corey King.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
we should have challenged him to come on the
No,
podcast and
but,
talk about
what I'm
whatever.
saying is, you was looking up me for all the wrong
Well, yeah,
reasons.
and I would want to know why a man of his age would even be looking up to you for anything
But
other than the positive things that you've done in life.
But no,
That's
what I'm saying back then, as
yeah,
he's younger than me. So right now, when I'm talking about between the age of 14 and 24, when I was out there doing those things,
no, I
all these
understand
guys,
what you're saying,
all these
but
guys that was all
yeah,
these guys that was up under me, they was looking up based upon some of the things and they heard that I did or didn't do. So what I'm just trying to say is I had a bunch of people following me all for the wrong reason with the Eminem crew. Imagine, like I say, if I would have been, saying aware, had the knowledge and understanding as a Captain Dennis Muhammad, and
right.
I would have took that to, like to
Honesty.
say, Cyprus,
Mm-hmm.
no drug dealing, no robbery, no murders, no rape, no crime. How powerful could I have been? Those are
Right.
the things that you got to sit back and think about it. Now, once I would have got myself established there, then guess what? You could have take that program anywhere, especially if a winning situation.
Yeah, you know, we can move from CK. But there was a gentleman, I think. Let's go back to Terrence Gangster Williams, right? Where the gentleman said that he was very saddened by the fact that he believes he made a deal and
Yeah,
snitched.
boozy. Yeah,
Right.
boozy badass. Yeah.
Okay. What? Okay. I agree with you. Had you known you had all these leadership skills, right? Who knows what you could have turned that into, like a multi-billion-dollar operation. But the fact that at this age, 40s, 50s, whatever, that people cannot make that connection. I can see when you're young, like when we all were young, we're looking up to you and Tut and whomever else. But when you're this age and you can reflect and kind of understand, why make that statement that I'm just so saddened by the fact that you guys are snitches and like you made deals and what are you doing? Like as though you are the reason for the atomic bomb or something. Like I just can't really rationalize that when these gentlemen are already in their 40s. Like I cannot rationalize that because now they've grown, they've lived, they've had experiences. So what is it that is going on in our community where men in their 40s and 50s and sometimes even 60s still suggest or believe that there's some power in not protecting and loving your community when people are doing bad things? I'm just going to put it plain and simple.
But always remember and sit back and think about right now is guess what? When I was a child, I thought as a child, I act as a child. But when I became a man, I put away all childish things. That don't mean everybody grow up. Some people, their way of thinking, their behavior, their attitude, they still stuck. And those are things that we got to sit back and think about it. Everybody matured differently. Like to me, what changed me was pain. Some of these folks probably right now is pain probably did something totally different. Pain probably make them worse and not better. So my objective was I took upon a loss that was of significant that no, I'm tired of losing. I'm not going to let this woman teaching upbringing continue to be in vain. So what I'm saying right now is, I think, honestly speaking, powerful 1 hour and 20 minutes. So right now, like
Wow,
I
that
say,
went by fast.
that went by fast. And what I'm saying is, right now, like I say, I'm gonna go ahead and say this, folks. Listen, some of the things that we cover, you know, what I'm saying what is suicide? It's what National Suicide Prevention Month. Okay, we spoke about that. We spoke about the rapper, what Breezy 600, his girlfriend committing suicide. We talked about John Wall, the basketball player, worth $110 million. Spoke about contemplating suicide when he lost his mother, he lost his grandmother, and basically right now he was out on a basketball injury. What else we talk about? We talk about right now is, what else we talk about, Doc?
Snitching.
Snitching. And to me,
Snitching.
regards what? Like, this stuff go different, deeper than the original surface. And I think right now, I want to continue this. Me and you got to continue this. But like I tell you right now, listen, thank you for taking your time out to join us on this fabulous Friday. And once again, right now, check your kid's book bag. You know what I'm saying? Hold your kids accountable. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Bobby, come here. Let me see what you got in your book bag. Sometimes you don't gotta ask. He's under your roof. She's under your roof. Look at their book bag. Look at their backpack. See what the hell's going on.
But
Sometimes ask them, how was your day in school?
right.
What happened? What took place or whatever. When there's no communication, there's no understanding. When there's no understanding, everything tend to be what? Mass chaos.
Right. But you also want to demonstrate respect, right? Respect for boundaries. And so that people are willing to be open and honest about how they're feeling. And even if you found that I've had that conversation with a client one time. I asked him what was in his book, his backpack. And when he opened his backpack when we were in session, he had a whole butcher knife, an entire butcher knife. And it was funny because we had a mutual respect, right? And so I said, "You took that to school?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Well, what were you going to do?" Because I had to process. He said, "Well, the day before someone hit him or punched him or did something to him, and so, or even last week, because I had to think about the time frame to make decisions around my next steps." So he said, they hit me or whatever. So I just brought it to school for protection. I said, "Well, if you would have ran into him, what would you have done?" He said, "I probably would have stabbed him." I said, "Wow." You know what I mean? So I had to make decisions around next steps, and that's not really important. But the fact is, we were able to go there. We went down this like kind of conversation together, and he was very open and honest. And so you do need to have that respect and those open and honest conversations with your children. And you will find out that perhaps they're doing it because of something else that went on that they did not disclose, right? In terms of protecting. themselves. So yeah.
All right. So, like I say, folks, listen, thank you for joining us. I think this is very powerful. What I want you to do, hit the like button, share. I think right now, honestly speaking, right now, with some of the things that we spoke about tonight, is worth sharing. And that's what it's all about. If you care about somebody that's out there that going through, we talk about depression. We talk about right now when people hit the breaking point. There's so many different things out there. We talk about snitching. We talk about right now a woman can bring a man into her home, just came out the penitentiary, sodomizing and raping their child. But once again, they under that code, no snitching or whatever. Folks, get away from that nonsense. Stop protecting nonsense. Stop having these bootleg philosophy. Listen, it's not adding up. We're not like them saying we are highly educated people. We done been to hell and back. So, like I said right now, hit that like button, subscribe, copy this, share it to each and everybody that's out there, that's on. You know what I'm saying, your social media, that's in your DM, that's in your phone contact. I think this is a very, very powerful message, and I think it should be shared.
I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Shout out to what is that? Planet Plainfield. Yeah. Gmon 405. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Miss L, thank you for reminding me that I was on mute because I had a difficult time there for a minute. That's what I love about our listening audience and our viewers. They're so helpful. That's what it's about. They always showing that love, and that's what we encourage. And shout out to Val. Hey Val, how you doing? His little heart.
Right.
So
Hey, look,
yeah,
folks, listen, thank
nice.
you very much.
Yeah,
Okay. Peace, love, and prosperity. Have a safe weekend.
yes, peace.